What does it mean when you dream of someone visiting you? If you're dreaming and you notice that you are in a place, maybe it's indoor space or an exterior area, and someone is coming to you, pay close attention to that dynamic. Your dream is not necessarily about that person. Your dream is not about the place that you're in. Instead, your nighttime vision and its analysis should focus on the action of that person. That person is visiting you. This is about the visit in of itself. Of course, there are many different contextual clues that you need to pay attention to because they can steer the meaning in many different ways. So that's what I'm going to jump into. It's about the context, but at the same time, keep in mind that the dream is about the visit itself and it's inward directed. Someone is visiting you, not the other way around. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the contextual nitty-gritty of this type of dream. What does it mean to dream of a familiar person visiting you? Now, keep in mind that in this dream, the visit is the center of the dream, but it's also the identity of the person visiting you that is at play. In this type of dream, a familiar person is visiting you. It could be a friend, it could be a relative, a family member. It's somebody that you know. It's somebody that you have allowed into your life at some level or other. This symbolizes a dream for comfort, security, belonging, because these are the natural manifestations of familiarity in your waking life. The familiar person may represent a part of yourself that you are seeking to reconnect. Maybe you had certain issues in the past, and this person is kind of connected with that part of your life. You're trying to reconnect with that chapter of your life, not necessarily with this person, because this person may be already in your life, but pay attention to what they represent. Maybe you have looked at a certain chapter in your life as just a series of failures that you'd rather not think about or remember. But now is the time to look at them with a fresh set of eyes. Maybe things are not as bad. One good example of this is some sort of childhood trauma. I remember when I was in junior high, there were these really nice-looking girls who were laughing in my direction. I couldn't quite make sense of it, but they were laughing in my direction. Even one girl was pointing at my direction. So for a few years after that, I thought that they were making fun of me. So I hate to admit it, but there was a sense of judgment there, a sense that I wasn't good enough. I was feeling rejected, insulted. So by chance, completely out of the blue, I met up with a friend and she was friends with one of the girls. And that girl told me that the reason why they were laughing was because some guy behind me was making jokes or was making a scene. It wasn't about me. It had nothing to do with me. And that little piece of information blew me away. It changed my relationship with that memory. It changed my interpretation of that memory because if I wanted to, I could have dwelt on that. I could have made it the centerpiece of my self-esteem. Do you see how this works? So look at things that you may have been interpreting a certain way with a fresh set of eyes, and you may be surprised because the more you break it down, the more you are able to accept it, the less likely it will have a negative effect on you. What does it mean to dream of an unfamiliar person visiting you? In this type of dream, we flip the script and go the other direction. This can indicate your need for new experiences. You're not fearing the stranger. You're not afraid of going places or transcending your boundaries, so to speak. Instead, a part of you actually welcomes that. They want new experiences. They're looking forward to new people or new perspectives in your life. The unfamiliar person represents all these things because you need to be challenged. Because when you focus only on the things you already know, that you are familiar with, and go only in places that you know you belong, you're not really pushing your boundaries. You're not exploring what the world has to offer because, let's face it, Whenever you experience new things and you come across new people, there's always an opportunity for misunderstanding. There's always an opportunity to feel that you don't belong, that you're not welcome, that you're not accepted. But you have to overcome that, because dealing with those feelings in of itself is the victory. Because if you keep avoiding those types of feelings, then you become more vulnerable. It's like your emotional resiliency is like a muscle. If you don't test it, if you don't pressure it, like a muscle that you exercise at the gym, you're not going to get bigger. You're not going to get stronger. The same applies to your emotional state. So welcome these new experiences and new people. Put yourself out there, because you are more adaptable and flexible than you give yourself credit for. What does it mean to dream of someone visiting you who is dead? This is enough to freak a lot of people out, because in your dream, you see this person that you know for sure has passed away, and there they are, full of life, talking to you in your face like nothing happened. Well, don't worry. This is not a prediction. This is not a prophecy. That person is not going to rise from the grave, so you can scratch that off the list. Instead, what this type of dream symbolizes, as far as your subconscious reality goes, is that there is some sort of unfinished business with either that person directly or what they represent. There is some area in your life that you have overlooked or maybe even dismissed, but no matter how you set it aside, no matter how you refuse to deal with it, that sense of lack of closure is still weighing on you. It's not going away. In fact, if you're really serious about it and you're completely honest, it might even get worse over time. So the key here is to look at this as a form of encouragement or a warning sign to seek guidance. Maybe you can ask a professional or talk to somebody you trust and seek some sort of guidance. Step out of your emotional circle or emotional black hole, and they may be able to help you. Another interpretation of this, which is also quite popular, is that the deceased person symbolizes some sort of centralized knowledge. Maybe it's tradition, maybe it's folk, some sort of folk way. Whatever the case may be, you are completely disconnected from it, for whatever reason. For example, if you are a second-generation immigrant and a dead aunt visits you in your dream, this can be a call to action regarding reconnecting with your roots. Not necessarily for reconnecting for the sake of reconnecting, but to draw strength from family traditions or cultural norms that you could benefit from when you are living in the United States, Canada, Australia, or wherever else. Do you see how this works? Try looking in that direction. Don't get freaked out by the fact that this person is somebody who has passed away. What does it mean to dream of someone visiting you who is a significant other? This is a weird dream because your significant other, chances are, is in your life. You see them day to day. You always talk to each other. You send each other messages. So it's kind of a weird positioning or a weird kind of framing for your subconscious to tell you or present to you that this person, your significant other, is visiting you. So look for signs in your dream. Maybe they moved away, or maybe they are assigned to a different place. Whatever the case may be, you have been separated, although you haven't divorced or emotionally or financially separated. It's just a physical separation. If that's the kind of dream you're having, this type of dream actually represents a pent-up need on your part for intimacy, connection, or even some form of reconciliation. Let's pick that apart. Even if you have sex with somebody, even if you're physically intimate with somebody, that in of itself is not intimacy. Even if you were to open your soul to somebody, you tell them all your long-held secrets and your insecurities and vulnerabilities, that may not be it as well. Intimacy really is all about sharing your soul with somebody else. It's the deepest form of soul tie. If you find yourself talking to somebody that is very close to you and you complete each other's sentences, you are experiencing a deep level of intimacy. You don't even have to be emotionally connected to that person. You may not even need to have a relationship with that person. This can be a platonic friend. What's important is that everybody needs that level of intimacy in their lives. And it's nothing so sexual. It's nothing relationship oriented in terms of that person necessarily having to be your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, or your boyfriend. No. We need a deep connection. We need an intimate link to each other. Otherwise, we slowly die inside. And the fact that you're not getting it in your circle of friends, at work, or in whatever social setting you find yourself in is beginning to weigh on you, because this level of intimacy is obviously important to you. Otherwise, your subconscious is not going to send you this symbol. So how do you go about achieving that level of intimacy? Well, first of all, you have to be open to it. If you're the type of person who looks like a stone wall and is very cold, you really have no, I hate to say it in these terms, but you really have no right to insist on intimacy when you're not willing to be open to it. So that's the first part. It's about the signals you send to the world. So if you're sending out a signal that you shouldn't be messed with, then people are not going to mess with you. So that's the first thing. Signal that you are open. So smile, look people in the eye, be curious, be in the present moment with them. Just be there so they can see your openness. The second step is to reach out, because nobody that I know of is a mind reader. They can't step into your mind. This is not Star Wars. So you have to be clear. If you want to be a deeper friend with somebody, indicate so in your own words. Let them read between the lines. Or if you want to be a more integral part of your work group, signal that. Because again, you cannot expect people to read your mind and give you the kind of intimacy that you're looking for when you're not making the first move, when you're not signaling to people. It's not just a question of being open. That is a prerequisite. So when we have that taken care of, you still have to make the first step. And then finally, it's hard to really establish intimacy both with other people and with yourself in terms of deep, profound personal honesty when you're hanging on to all sorts of grudges and you refuse to forgive people. I know that's kind of a tall order because there's a lot of traumas that we'd rather not deal with. We know that they define us, and we'd like to keep them locked up deep in our hearts and hermetically sealed so they don't do any further harm. But with proper professional guidance, and I definitely encourage you, if this is your situation, to get professional help, you can be able to take the first steps to forgiving. Because when you forgive other people, it's not like you're giving up something. Instead, you are gaining something because, believe it or not, those people have moved on. In many cases, the people who have traumatized you don't have you front and center in their minds. They're doing something else. They've got problems of their own. In fact, in many cases, it's physically impossible for you to reconnect and reconcile with them because they've died. Okay? So you're doing this for yourself. So take that first step, reconcile, and this will unleash a deeper level of intimacy that you need to have with yourself. Let me put it this way. It's hard to be intimate with other people when you don't allow yourself to be intimate with yourself. Know yourself. Take full stock. Accept yourself. Be aware of who you're dealing with and what it is that you have to do. Just a quick reminder, if you are enjoying this video, please click the like button and hit subscribe. Please be sure to click the bell notification icon that you see after you hit the subscribe button. This way you don't miss any of our updates. Thanks a lot. Now back to our dream analysis. What does it mean to dream of someone visiting you who is a friend? If the main differentiator of the identity of the person that you're seeing in your visiting dream is that that person is a friend, maybe an acquaintance that became a friend or a really deep, intimate friend, this type of dream indicates a desire for social interaction. You want to belong. You want to feel accepted. You want to feel that your opinions matter. You feel that your emotions, for whatever reason, is kind of contained right now because you're either walking on eggshells or you feel that you don't really fully know the people around you, so you're kind of like scared of taking emotional risks. Whatever the case, that is your present reality, and your subconscious is telling you by showing you being visited by a friend that you need some level of social interaction, that you would like or would savor deeper friendship, and from this, you would get a sense of community, a place that you belong, a place that you are not questioned, rejected, or made to feel like you're an outsider. Instead, you just want to be in one place, in the circle of friends that you know. This is very comforting, and this projects a lot of your deep-seated needs, but it also indicates that you need to take action, because none of this will materialize just because you got lucky. That's the bottom line. The chances of this happening on its own is close to zero. You have to take the first step. As I've mentioned earlier, you have to be open to it. You can't keep stonewalling people or insist that people read your minds. That's not going to work. You have to participate, and you have to build this shared reality. And the second thing is, if you want to be a friend, if you want more friends, you have to be a friend first. So take the first step. What kind of friend would you like to enter your life? Be that person. If you build that persona on sincerity, authenticity, and honesty, you will attract the right people. But if you're obviously faking it just so you can get some sort of emotional bond or commitment, who knows who you will attract? So consider that a warning. What does it mean to dream of someone visiting you who is a family member? This is a little bit tricky because, let's face it, we can choose our friends, but we cannot choose our relatives. And it's also true that blood is thicker than water. Your bloodline means a lot, not just physically, not just in terms of DNA, but also in terms of your mental composition. Your personal soundtrack that you play in the background of your mind every waking second is, in large measures, influenced by your family. This is a big deal. And when you see yourself being visited by someone who's a family member in your dreams, this represents a desire for family bonding, a desire to be part of a tradition, a culture. And what happens is that you're not getting a sense of belonging where you are. Maybe you're in a job that pushes you to move from city to city. Maybe you migrated to a different culture. Maybe you are in college and this is the first time you moved very far from home. Whatever the case may be, there is a sense of displacement there, and your sense of belonging, your sense of acceptance, and your sense of connection to something that is larger than you, that will outlive you, is, for lack of a better word, being shaken. So use this as an opportunity. Use this to come up with your own traditions, come up with what makes sense to you, and seek that. Because just because something has been passed down to you doesn't necessarily mean that you have to accept it and internalize it. Believe it or not, this is how you break intergenerational curses. Just because your great-grandfather was an alcoholic doesn't mean that you have to be an alcoholic as well. And this applies to all sorts of trauma, abuse, you name it. But this can also involve culture. Just because you have this culture doesn't mean that you're restricted to it, that you have to play it out, because you are your own person. This is how you break patterns. and create your own path. What I would suggest, and this is just a suggestion, is that you draw from the strengths of the past. Don't just get scared off by the negative parts. Draw strength from the things that work. And then from there, recreate a new reality in your current scenario or setting that makes sense to you. And take it from there. Maybe you have lessons that you can teach other people in your culture, and all of us get to benefit. What does it mean to dream of someone visiting you who is a total stranger? If somebody's visiting you and you haven't seen this person before, this is your subconscious telling you that you need to push against the wall of your comfort zones. You are looking for new experiences. You are looking for a new way of looking at the world. But the problem is, this is not a priority. You're focused on the things that you feel you must do on a day-to-day basis. So this part of your persona never really gets dealt with. And it's really too bad because, believe it or not, the walls of your comfort zone, if you don't push against them, if you don't question them, if you don't do something to push them outwards, will act and pretty soon feel like a prison. Sure, the walls are invisible. You're not surrounded by gray bars, iron steel, or rods or concrete, but it's still a prison. Because deep down inside, you're telling yourself where you can and cannot go, who you can and cannot be, who you can hang out with, all these limitations. And a lot of this is drawn from the fact that you do certain routine things day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. When you see a stranger visit you and the main focus of your dream is the visit and the identity of that person, your subconscious is telling you to push against the walls that are comfortable. Try to do things differently. Try to blow things up and try to reassemble them so you can understand the philosophy behind them. This way, when you question, when you push back, you start recreating your reality in a way that makes sense to you. Now, here's where it gets a little trippy. You may end up doing things the exact same way as you did before. Now you may be thinking to yourself, why did I blow things up? Why did I question it in the first place? Since I'm going to end up in the same place anyways. Well, you're missing the point. Now it makes sense to you. Now you understand why things play out the way they do and why you choose to adopt them as they are. Now you know the reason behind them. Before, you were just this robot that basically just took whatever it is that your parents believed in and just took it to the next level. And that's your job until you pass it on to the next generation. You didn't question it. You didn't understand it fully. Now you do. So at the very least, gain a deeper level of understanding, know the philosophies and the principles behind what you're doing. So when things happen to the point where you need to come up with something new, you know what you're dealing with. So you can reconfigure things and come up with something that fits the situation that you find yourself in the future. And it's still drawn from the lived experiences of people in your past or your family. What does it mean to dream of someone visiting you who is a historical figure or celebrity? Wouldn't it be awesome to be visited by JFK, Abraham Lincoln, or Mahatma Gandhi? Wouldn't it make your day to sit down and have tea with Nelson Mandela? These kinds of dreams are very easy to set aside and forget, because you may be thinking this is just wish fulfillment. Who am I to sit down and have dinner with somebody famous? And that's precisely what your dream is trying to communicate to you about. You feel small. You feel like you're another face in the crowd. You feel like in your job, you're just another cog in the machine. Your sense of smallness, believe it or not, is getting in the way of your effectiveness as an adult. The more you convince yourself that whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you come up with, whatever ideas that float around in your head, at the end of the day don't matter, you rob yourself of power. Because the old saying that the flapping of butterfly wings deep in the guts of the Amazon rainforest can actually have a profound impact when aggregated and scaled up with other activities with a tropical storm happening at the other side of the planet. You have a consequence. You have an impact. Now you may be thinking to yourself, well, I work at a bullshit job and I'm just another face in the crowd. I'm anonymous. How much of an impact would I make? You'd be surprised. Because the world works in terms of processes, and we all play a role in this process, and we are part of the many different processes that work together. So don't think that just because nobody notices, or you don't get some sort of recognition, or you're not getting paid enough, that at the end of the day, you don't matter. Because that's the worst kind of message you can tell yourself. Because if you convince yourself that when all is said and done, you don't matter, then you're basically reducing yourself to meaninglessness. That is the worst judgment you could ever make. So when you see yourself dreaming about being visited by a very famous person, it could be Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, or even Donald Trump, sit up and pay attention. Your subconscious is trying to wake you up to your need for consequence. So, if anything, this is a call to action to be more mindful of the impact you have on other people. And if you're not having any impact, you might want to level up your game. You might want to step up. And when you do this, not only do you end up making more money or being promoted more often, getting more status, but you become more confident that when everything is said and done and it's time to lower you 6 feet into the ground or burn up your ashes, that you made a difference. You made a dent. You had an impact. So, if anything, do it for that. Do it for your sense of legacy. Thank you for watching this video. We appreciate your support. If you haven't done so already, please click the like button and hit subscribe. Please be sure to click the bell notification icon so you don't miss out on any of our updates. If you have any dreams you'd like us to interpret and analyze, please leave them in the comments because we read every comment. Eventually, we will make a custom video just based on your dreams. To support our mission of helping people from all over the world live their best lives by tapping the power of their dreams, please do us a very big favor. Please click the share button and share this video on all your social media accounts. Thanks a lot for joining us in this video, and we hope to see you soon in the next video we release.